In today's show, we discuss, does medicine and our healthcare actually fix us?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo, and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Taya Boya. Taya, hello, my friend, once again. I hope you're keeping safe and well.
Yeah, what the hell, Tony? What you gonna do?
You're going to say hi to our audience. Come on.
Yes, hello, audience. Today I'd like to share with you the last words that we have.
Hooray! The last one. I will have to go through all this ever again. Yes, yes. I should have celebrationary firecrackers or something. This is the last one.
That is so disrespectful of poor old Dr. Isaiah Henry. Anyway, it says, the harlot and the cockerel played over many days and many nights. Go with God. Amen. Wow. What's funny? What's funny? I'm trying to be serious here.
What the heck is that? That's just
Exactly.
utter nonsense.
No. This is what turned me on to the book. It's because of this, and it was meant to be like this. It's brilliant. It was meant to be like this. This was meant to be the last. Well, it is the last. It was the last of his sayings, and he put it like this. And when I first read it, I was like, what in the name of sweet Henrietta Jesus is this? And then it just came to me, like inspiration. The harlot and the cockerel played over many days and many nights. Now, the cockerel, what's the cockerel do? It crows at dawn, right? Yes?
Okay, yes.
What does the harlot do? She works at night.
Yes.
The cockerel and the harlot, the interplay of day and night over many days and many nights. And I just thought to myself, how many of these are there? And guess how many there are?
Go on.
28. There are 28 days and nights. 28 days and nights. The day, not moon, sorry. Yeah, the lunar cycle. The moon day thing, the night day thing, lunar cycle. This is not. He's trying to tell you here, hey, I'm not kidding. These things mean something. Look into what they mean. And he prays. He says, look, I pray for you that you understand my meaning. Go with God. He's serious. Amen. And he ends it like that. Amen. I've given you this wisdom. It's up to you to grasp it. This is what I mean. Because initially I was just like you were. What? Huh? What? And then you've got to delve into the meaning of the thing. You're going to be rude now.
Nonsense.
Yes, I knew. I could see that coming off. I could see that coming from a mile off. You just don't get it,
I don't. And
he prayed for you, and you just
scratching their heads, going, "What is he on?"
I've just explained it.
I've just
explained everything.
Nonsense. Anyway,
the harlot and the cockerel played over many days.
I don't know how this is
going
to fit into this show, but we'll.
No, it doesn't. It was the end. It was the end of this cycle. That's how I knew there was a cycle.
So is that the last one we're ever going to get?
Yeah, that was the last one.
Amen.
The last thing he wrote.
Hooray!
No, if you want to be like that, goodness gracious me.
Anyway, let's move on with the show. Enough of the shenanigans with
I'm very sad
Isaiah
to see
Henry.
Dr. Isaiah Henry.
Yes. Matatamba.
Matua Tamba.
Anyway, right, let's move on with today's topic. And today we're going to discuss, does medicine and our healthcare actually fix us? Now, this is intriguing. It's actually one of mine. And I wanted to ask that question and actually discuss it. Now, I don't know what your views are on this, if you want to summarize even now, because you obviously heard the topic the other day and you thought, what are we going to talk about? What's your view on this? Just quickly.
My view on this is what we're going to talk about.
Okay. But the reason I ask this is because more and more, especially on social media, we're seeing a lot of people challenge the narratives of healthcare systems and medicines in general, and basically ask the questions, are they actually fixing us? Are they helping? Or should we go back to using Mother Nature and just relying on that? So I wanted to address why some people think this way, and also what are, does the health system and medicine actually fix us? That's what I wanted to touch on. What's your view on it, though? Do you have any particular view or strong view at this point?
God, it's not for me. No, sorry, I know it's one of yours, but it doesn't come across as a brilliant question because it's the answers are, to me, patently obvious. No, medicine doesn't cure us, but because people die, so it doesn't keep us alive forever. But on the other hand, when you've got something wrong with you, very few of us go to the butchers. We go to the doctors, and we do that for a reason because we know that when we get to the doctor, to some degree and some extent, we're going to have science working behind the scenes where we can't see it. Hundreds, maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people working on something that would address the symptoms. So we go there in the expectation that if there is a way of being cured, we will find it with the doctor. We don't go to witch doctors and priests and all that, except in the last resort. So I don't see that as even anything to argue about. It's just, yeah, it does it does its best. Is going to be my position in this.
Well, that's actually quite a good viewpoint, to be fair. It does its best. It's actually summarizing a lot of the points. But what I wanted to talk about in particular is, are there people's expectations set too highly somehow? Have people got it in their psyche to believe that the medical system and medicines in general are there to cure us and cure us of all sorts of things? Or is there some failings in the medical system and we need to be aware of those failings and not expect too much?
I think that's the dialectic. Dialectic? I think it's dialectic. Spectrum of opposites. I don't think that's it at all. I don't think it's a question of, do we have too much faith in the system? What was the other thing you said? The second part. One was too much faith in the system,
yeah,
and the other was,
and people are believing that they think they're going to get cured every time.
Yeah, but
or do we just dispense with the whole thing, and go back to health? Just natural medicines, which is what some people are advocating.
Well, then you'd be glad to hear. Now, do you know what? Every time I try to anticipate your arguments, Tony, I mean, you come up with this kind of left field arguments and just completely discombobulate me. I came up with 5 very strong arguments that I thought you'd be advancing either way, and I was ready. And then your very first question is like, huh? What? Who thinks like that? So I'm not prepared for it, although I do have an answer.
Go on.
Which is that there is an entire hospital, and I believe that the town is being developed along those lines in China, where there is going to be an intermarriage of Western and traditional medicine. So in the same hospital, both sides will see you. Both the traditional chap and the science person will see you, and they think that could be the way of the future because of this acupuncture thing, which they readily admit they don't know how the damn thing works, but
it does.
But many a time it works. Maybe it's a placebo effect or whatever, but they don't know. But I think they've done double-blind experiments and whatnot and everything, and it seems to genuinely work. And the other things as well, with the ginger.
I've had it done.
Really?
Yeah, it's worked for me. Absolutely. Some people, you're right, it won't work for every single person, which you're right, they don't know why it doesn't work for everybody, but it certainly worked for me. And 2 or 3 people I know who've also had it done It's worked for them too. So it's doing something under the skin, but science hasn't worked out what it is. But they still promote it. And strangely enough, in the UK, you can get referred to acupuncture on the NHS. So they've adopted it, even though they don't fully understand it. It is an alternative medicine in quotes, because they don't.
And the NHS can prescribe it for. You can be prescribed acupuncture.
They
in the NHS.
will recommend that you go via a physio who can provide the acupuncture.
That's the first I've heard of it. That's astonishing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of weird because okay, so you're sort of contradicting yourself, because if we're saying that we're all pro science and everything, and you don't know how this blooming thing works, that's not really scientific, is it?
No, but there's benefits, and so they're seeing that the symptoms that someone has, getting benefits from this. So why not provide it? There's actually been enough clinical evidence for them to be swayed in that manner. You see, the problem with a lot of traditional medicine is there isn't a massive amount of clinical evidence. They're not saying it doesn't work. They're saying that there isn't enough clinical evidence. In other words, measured, repeatable testing to ensure that it does what it says on the tin. A lot of traditional medicines or holistic medicines haven't produced the clinical evidence for doctors to fully warrant it and prescribe it. So, and hence why they will go or move towards medicine that has been clinically proven in tests and repeatable tests. So that's why they do it. But if there was enough evidence for a holistic treatment that produced beneficial results for patients, they will promote it. Of course they will. Certainly in the UK. And they, like I said, they have done with acupuncture. So, there are others. I mean, for instance, I'll give you another example. Joints. Now, most people have problems as they age with their joints. And some people believe it could be down to genetics. Some people believe it could be down to diet, could be environment. There are many combinations, but there isn't science hasn't narrowed down an answer as to why we get arthritis, why we get the problems with our joints. And so there are different remedies, of course. Nothing actually cures arthritis, but all that happens is the symptoms of arthritis can be treated in some fashion. Now, glucosamine is a popular supplement, herbal supplement, which is, provided, and you can buy it from most health shops, that people swear have had benefits with joints if they take it. Now, there's been no clinical evidence that it actually rectifies the problem. Maybe, like you've said already, there could be a placebo effect. And so people continue to take it and will shout out loud, oh yeah, it's great, it's great. Great. You can say that as much as you like, but unless you can be proven in a clinical environment, it's very difficult for the medical profession to promote it to clients. Glucosamine and chondroitin, yeah. Glucosamine sulfate, yes. There you go. Tayo, for the benefit of our audio listeners, Tayo has just held up a tub of glucosamine. And a lot of people do talk about it. I myself have taken it in the past, and I believe I've got benefits from it. And this is where
I know I have benefits from it, because my fingernails became soft. And when I tried to cut them with nail clippers, they didn't cut, they sheared off.
Ooh.
Because they were just too soft. They were, I don't know, it's kind of weird because I don't understand. And I went to the podiatrist, and he said, oh yeah, this is age related. But here, these supplements will sort it out for you. And you can't see them properly, but yeah, they're back.
They're back.
Knock on wood. They're back. Yeah.
So, they do work. And even strangely, a lot of people, a lot of doctors actually acknowledge it. They do. But from a clinical point of view, to
Yeah.
follow the letter of the law as far as a clinician is concerned, they can't then prescribe it. They have to let the client decide for themselves if that's what they wish to do. But from a doctor's point of view, they have to stick to the straight and narrow, in essence, and prescribe medication which is clinically tested and proven and part of a list of proven items. Because also the other thing as well is a lot of the clinical items have got side effects, but they're documented side effects. A lot of holistic treatments don't list any side effects, and they do have them, but that's part of the reason, and another reason why a lot of doctors are less inclined to promote holistic remedies, because they don't fully understand all the negative elements of it. And for some people that could be really not good. So that's another reason. If those were well documented, then I dare say the medical profession would promote more holistic remedies for people. So that's
Well,
part of the factor.
I sent you a link.
Oh, for the Huan Hospital? I can't even pronounce it.
I think it's Xuan.
Xuan Hospital.
Xuan Hospital
In China. And is this the one you were talking about? That they're
It is, but it says located in Beijing. But I thought it was located outside of Beijing in an area that had been set aside for the development of a sort of interdisciplinary type of hospital. Because they wanted to be, if it works out, they wanted to be a standard form, but they're trying it out in isolation first.
Okay.
See?
I mean,
so
it says located in Beijing. I mean, it could be not in Beijing city, but you're talking in the region. Beijing is a huge, whole area near Beijing could mean anything, because let's be honest, that Beijing and the whole of China is enormous. So, the capabilities of where this could be. But I'll be intrigued once it's up and running, how it operates.
no, it is up and running.
It
Just
is,
up and running.
Oh, it is.
It is.
Oh, I thought you said it was.
So there's a link. That link takes you there.
Ah, okay.
And highly
share that
affordable.
in the blurb for our
for our
listeners
audience,
and viewers. Yeah.
And anyone who actually ends up going there, give us a shout. Oh, by the way, audience, when we say give us a shout, some of you are. Thank you for getting in touch with us and everything. But what you're not doing is telling us how to get in touch with you, because if you do it on Buzzsprout, it will send us a message, and we will see your message, but we can't reply.
Yeah.
There's no way of replying.
No facility on there, which is real.
There's no facility, which is a shame.
Just to make it clear to some people here in Buzzsprout, what's he on about? No, Buzzsprout is our platform that hosts the actual audio podcasts. We're obviously on YouTube as well, and plus all the other platforms that are out there. But Buzzsprout in particular, if you do listen or consume our content on there and leave a comment, for whatever reason we can read it, but we can't reply. Other platforms are a bit more flexible, so please continue to use those. But obviously, again, if you wanted to engage with us, then the TNT Talkers on Facebook, although Tayo, I believe, is looking for a different one. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I'm not going back to Facebook.
Okay.
They've banned me once too many times.
In that case, we're gonna have to probably retire that Facebook group, which is such a shame, because it was quite engaging. We had some good comments on there, a good little group of people. You'll have to find a platform of choice which isn't, too difficult for people to get on. Let's be honest.
Who wants to go and join Donald Trump's thing?
What?
Donald Trump's Truth platform.
Truth platform. Oh, I'm not sure about that.
By the way, it is completely off point, but we're going to get back to point. We're going to get back on point very, very shortly.
Yeah.
Jonathan, don't worry. We're going to get back on point very shortly. I like this, what people are doing now. Do you know what they're calling X? They're not leaving it as X. They're calling it X Twitter.
Oh,
I
very
think that's
good.
brilliant.
Very
I think
good.
that's actually brilliant because that means that Elon Musk hasn't won. It's X, but it's X Twitter.
Ex-Twitter. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Okay. I mean, okay, let's get back to the topic in hand
yeah, you
about whether.
basically you said, and yes, I've agreed with you because there's an actual hospital that's not only a hospital. I think a government, an entire government, is trying to see if there's a comfortable intermarriage between traditional and orthodox medicine, but that is not an admission that orthodox medicine doesn't cure
No.
patients. Now, when you talk about curing patients, I think one of the criticisms of orthodox medicine is that it practices the management of symptoms. I'm going to cough. Sorry.
Maybe you need some. My esteemed colleague is coughing away. It's a typical on a show discussing healthcare and medicine, and he's coughing away.
I've had this horrible tickles in my throat for a long time. It comes and it goes.
Maybe you need some medicine. Okay.
Mm. Yeah, okay.
Oh, and he's got some ready as well. How efficient is that?
Uh,
Is that
yeah.
is that traditional medicine or is that holistic?
No, we ordered it from Nigeria
Oh,
because it works. But we only had the one bottle. And I just thought I just go online and see if anybody happens to know where to get it. And it's actually manufactured in England. So I felt so stupid. It's manufactured in England, but we ordered it from Nigeria. It's like, what the actual? So it
very
actually
good.
works.
Very good.
Now, for anybody who's interested, it's called, can you see that for me?
Methodex. And what is it? Is it expectorant or something like that for your throat?
Menthodex. Menthodex. But
Methodex.
if you talk about, you got this horrible tickly, it's not my lungs, knock on wood, they're clear and everything. But the back of my throat, it just gets this horrible tickles. And yeah, this is the one thing that just settles it.
Helps you.
I've got another spasm coming.
Okay. Oh dear. Anyway, let me answer the question about whether medicine actually fixes us, because that seems to be a bit of a bone of contention. Because there's only a few or a handful of them that actually cure us, that actually remove and fix things. Most medicines, the majority of them, just deal with the symptoms. And the reason for that is because the medical industry haven't found a way of curing the root cause, the problem. So they deal with the symptoms that you might be experiencing. So it reduces the symptoms so your body can then fix itself. So this is primarily part of the reason for a lot of the medication. It deals with the symptoms, giving you ample time to recover. So you're in a better position to recover and enjoy your day-to-day life whilst your body is repairing itself in the background. So the medication is just dealing with the symptoms.
Absolutely correct. This is spot on. This is the counter argument is that, well, we alleviate symptoms and we let the body get on with, and we give it whatever assistance we can, chemical assistance or whatever we can to help the body repair itself, because the body does have some tremendous abilities to repair itself. And many times, many times it can actually do that. So yeah, it's a good point. It is a point, but it's an ignorant point, if you see what I mean. We don't take an aspirin to cure a headache. We take an aspirin to relieve the pain whilst the body treats the headache.
Exactly.
That's what's going on there,
Yes.
which I think is good enough. Then another criticism is that chronic disease is too often treated as a business model by pharmaceutical companies. So
In what
the
capacity?
most profitable drugs and treatments are for chronic conditions that require ongoing management. Why can't we just get a one-time cure?
Well, that's because it's harder than it is. I'll give you a typical example of that is some illnesses can't be fixed. They just can't. Somebody who has high blood pressure, that is almost a genetic problem that can't be fixed, especially it can be compounded by weight gain. If somebody is not looking after themselves in the manner that they should, if they're not at their ideal weight, and how many people in the Western world are, you're already contributing to an increase in blood pressure because your veins and arteries are only a particular size, but you're now giving it more body for it to look after. So it has to pump more blood around the system to a bigger body to cater for because you've actually increased in size by putting on weight. This in turn increases the pressure in your body. Now, if you're overweight and considerably overweight, there are high chances that your blood pressure will be high. Now, unless you lose the weight yourself, there's no pill that's going to fix that. All the blood pressure medication does is slightly open your arteries and your veins so that the pressure can be reduced in those veins. But as soon as that medication wears off, because it does, the veins will constrict back to their original size and the pressure will increase once again. So the medication doesn't last forever. It's temporary. Hence why some you have to keep getting again and again and again. And as we're talking about that, there are some vaccines again that are temporary. They do not linger in your body. You have to have them again and again and again because your body loses whatever that vaccine was designed to do. There are some that are taken once. For polio, I think that's one, where you only need one and then you've got the antibodies for life. Whereas for others, you have to take them all the time because the antibodies wane. And science doesn't know why that happens. Why are some flushed out effectively after a period of time, whilst others remain for the longevity of your lifetime?
There's this. I grew up. I spent part of my youth, a large part of my youth, in a northern Nigerian town called Zaria. And in Zaria, there was a health office. And when I was growing up, and we were traveling to the UK for our summer holidays or whatever reason, or I was going off to school because I schooled there for a while. I knew it was the time. I knew my time to depart was getting closer because my parents would drive me to this office, and it's like when you take a dog to the vet. Eventually, it knows, oh, hang on, this looks suspiciously like the vet, And I had that exact Pavlovian response to, oh, no, because I had to go and get my vaccinations again.
Right.
And when I was a young man, some of them were quite painful. Some of them were done with the edge of a blade, and there were little scratches made on the top of the arm like this.
Wow.
Like that. And then they put this blooming thing on and to sting like mad. And obviously, I suppose as an older person now, I would barely flinch. But when you're young, you seem to feel these things a lot more acutely than now. And the needle going in, you're like, are you trying to kill me, you guys? What is this? But there was one, like you said, rightly said, I think it was polio, whatever it was, which was done like almost like a tattoo. They did it loads of times.
Needles, yeah.
Yeah, they did it loads of times. That was the one I haven't forgotten. So that that was a one-off thing. And then they assured me, "You're not going to get that one anymore. It's done. It's okay. Which one am I going to get now? Yeah, it's still going to hurt, but it's not. It's going to hurt." So I'm just saying that after a while, the vaccines became even more effective. And I remember one time when I was like a teenager at this point, and I would take myself. I mean, you don't have to drive me there. I'll take myself there. And this time they were like, "Oh no, you got this last time. You're fine."
Oh, okay.
10 years or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like,
Some
"Oh,
last 10 years.
great!
That's
It
right.
lasts
Yeah.
for 10 years."
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's yellow fever or something that lasts for
Yes,
10.
it's one of those. Yes.
Mm.
I remember going to Africa and having the jab for one of those because they needed to know where I was going. And I think we were going to Kenya at the time. And so, yeah, you had to have certain dung fever and yellow fever and
Dengue,
things like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Dengue. You said dung fever.
dung
Dengue.
fever or whatever. I
Dengue.
can never pronounce it. And so, yeah, the we had to have that, but we had it. You're right. It lasts a long time, not
That's a
lifetime,
long
but
time.
certainly a
No.
while. Certainly for a
Mm.
while.
Yeah.
Okay, there's
So it is like that. There are medicines, but yes, but many of the chronic illnesses, I mean, as with the chronic because we can't cure them.
That's
If
right.
we could,
You
if we
can't.
could cure them, they wouldn't be
Yeah,
chronic.
they would. It wouldn't be chronic. And do
Yeah.
you think that if I mean, there seems to be a lot of infodemic, which is social media amplifies a lot of misinformation about this because it grabs, fast-driven narratives. They resonate emotionally. So if someone says something, it's like the companies are stopping the use
Innovation.
of innovation,
Stop
which
innovation
is
and stuff.
total nonsense. I mean,
Is it
look at
really?
yes.
Is it? We did
Let
an
me give you
entire show on how come people who invent things die under
okay.
mysterious circumstances.
Let me give you one that's recently happened, right? And you're telling me that this is, the medical industry would not look for innovation. The skinny jab.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's a new thing. It was primarily for diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
but now they discovered that it suppresses the hunger hormone, which is the ghrelin hunger hormone. Why is it everybody and his dog is now trying to get to the table to sell this? And traditional weight loss remedies are being shunned in the distance because everybody is going to this drug, which is an injection that you have to then apply weekly. Some were daily, but now it's weekly, to suppress your hunger hormone. And this, so you're telling me that companies would refuse to bring something out because their current weight loss meds were adequate and bringing them the money. Of course, it's a capitalist system. Another company has discovered how to do it, to bring a jab out which has quicker end result to a normal traditional weight loss medications, and now they're raking it in. Although there are some side effects, some major side effects, but people are still willing in their hundreds of thousands, if not millions, to forego the risks just to lose the weight.
Yeah, the answer to your question, of course, is the lizard people. The overlords, those who run the planet, the real people, the real power, the real rulers of the planet. They sit down. It's either them or it's the Illuminati. Whoever it is, they sit down and decide, okay, let's go this way. And then they go that way. So obviously I'm being facetious here.
Yeah.
A little tongue-in-cheek. But here's the thing. There is enough evidence of people who appear to have made solemn, serious, really advantageous breakthroughs who have died mysterious deaths.
Absolutely.
I mean, when it comes to registering a patent, they have registered patents, the patents have disappeared, they're under lock and key, and the person has died mysteriously. So with that kind of evidence, it's not a far reach, it's not reaching too far to go, I wonder if any of those things had to do with something to do with medicine.
Without evidence, a correlation doesn't make it a cause, though. That's the problem.
No, it doesn't make it a cause. But I mean, I'll tell you what. If I'm trying to think of something really clever to say that, you know what? If it's correlation and cause, because I was going to say if I go out and it's rainy, if I have that dark clouds, I will take an umbrella with me. But you're going to say dark clouds sometimes cause rain, so that's not going to work.
So
They're
yeah,
pretty.
you know, you're right. I'm not saying look, I'm not defending the pharmaceutical industry. Of course, I'm not.
I'm just trying to say that maybe. I mean,
No,
okay,
absolutely, it's a
there's no
valid
smoking
point. It's a
gun,
valid point.
but
Yes,
it's possible.
all industry wants to favour its bottom line. That's what
Yeah, exactly.
capitalism is. And also, there are things in place to prevent the abuse of this long term. For instance, most pharmaceutical companies that do bring out a product, which then is deemed to help people's symptoms, they only have a lifespan patent of 10 years. They
Five, I
can't,
think.
they
Five.
not lifespan, it's a patent, not, but the patent term is 10 years. Then, by the rules of the country, most Western governments do this, I think China does too. You have to then release the patent for others to then mass
Yeah, nobody
produce.
can produce it without unless you license them. And I believe it's 5 years.
Initially,
I think this came up with the COVID thing that they got 5 years, and then after that,
well,
they can. And I think
independently, other companies still manage to produce their own COVID vaccines because they threw so much money at it. So
mm,
different companies around the world with the vaccine in that case, all independently found their own cure
yeah,
or
that
their
was a
own
special
vaccine.
case. No, I'm said I learned about the 5 year moratorium thing because of the vaccines and so on and so
Yes,
forth.
yeah, yeah.
No, because I think India wanted to, I may be wrong, but I think India wanted to just piggyback off someone, and they're like, no, you can't for
No, you
5 years.
can't. No, you can't.
That's what I'm saying. And that is actually is to prevent, is to allow companies to recuperate the money they invested in
Invested in
research,
research. Yes, indeed,
research and
indeed.
development, R&D. So
Yeah,
that's what that's for.
I think
I
a lot of
think we're
yeah, a lot
talking
of
about something
people.
slightly
Hmm.
slightly different, though. I
Well, a
think
lot of
what would
people don't understand the complexities of virology and the research needed at that level. It's not cheap. It costs. I mean, we did cover it on the show. You're right, where we discussed it costs billions, a company billions,
mm-hmm.
to come up with different vaccines and different medications, and most of them don't come to fruition. They've got too many side effects. There are problems, but those that do, they want to capitalize on it because and try and recoup the R&D investment that they've put in. So they are allowed by these patent laws to have exclusivity in the marketplace, so they can generate income during the time of the patent.
But there's a bit of which I found out maybe in the past week. There's a bit of not a bit. There are a few shenanigans going on with this idea of generic drugs and so on and so forth. So now I don't know how widespread this is, but apparently Donald Trump has come in and he's threatening India and saying he wants to reshore pharmaceutical factories back onto U.S. soil, because the Indians have taken it all and they're creating these cheap drugs. And then someone lost his temper and said, "Look, Mr. Trump," although he wasn't as polite as I'm being,
Okay.
he said, "Look, Mr. Trump, these are American companies. It's not a question of reshoring them.
Yes.
They came here because they can produce them more cheaply.
Yeah.
They produce them here cheaply. Then
They
they take
inflate the price back home.
they take it, ship it, and when it gets back onto your shores, it's whatever so it might cost us here 20 cents, but if it costs you $200 there, that's not us.
Yes, not them.
That's your company. It doesn't matter where you reshore them, they're still gonna hit you. Can you imagine? And I
that's
didn't know that.
ridiculous.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that's what's actually it's American. Those are American companies.
of course
They're
they
in
are.
China, but
Yeah,
they're actually American companies.
yeah, I know.
So what are you talking about?
Exactly. They're in it to make money, and they are. But
But I mean, $200. I mean, the amounts
yeah,
that they
but the
charge on some of
market,
these.
the market will be as much as it's needed to be. You find the price point. If you have competition, guess what? Your price will come down. But whilst you're
Yeah,
the
but those
patent
allow
holder,
competition, do they?
not whilst you're have got the patent for that particular formulation.
They're not allowed the competition because the American government is on their side because they're paying the people in Congress.
There
So
is an
actually, that
element of
leads
that. Yeah,
that
there is an
leads
element
to
of
the
that.
other point, which is the business model, is it the business model? Yeah. The business is, it's a business model because it's actually what we're talking about. That big business in America now specifically. I know I'm bashing Americans again, but in
I
America
think it's
specifically,
their medical system, unfortunately,
their
does
entire
lend it
business
to
system.
abuse. It does, yeah, it does.
You go to Congress, you pay a congressman a lot of money. Now here's the problem: it's like a threat. If I've got $1 million and I say, look, either you vote for me or I'll give this million to your opponent, who will then run against you, and you buy all the adverts he needs and throw you out, which is exactly what the American, not the American Defense, one of these Israeli, pro-Israeli group called again. I forget what they're called.
I don't know.
You don't know what they're called?
No.
Anyway, APAC, American Israeli, some peace, something, I don't know. So whatever, APAC, I'll look it up in a second. So that's what they do. They go to you and they make you an offer you can't refuse, because they're saying, look, either you vote our way or we're going to support your opponent. So people go, oh, okay, because you're not going to win. If you try to fight the good fight, you'll lose, because somebody else will take the deal.
See, their system lends to this, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it's not
doesn't ours too?
But it's no, less so, because, I mean, in America, as part of, their system does do that because they need money from donors in order to run campaigns, and it doesn't go to a party. It almost goes to, it does go to the party, but it also goes to individuals to help them run for office. So it's individual endorsement, and that's when you can lead to dodgy deals or siding with a company just purely because they're funding your campaign. And that's the downside. I mean, over in the UK, thank goodness, we don't work quite the same way. You're not funded by individual donors if you're running for office. That's not how it works. So there is differences there. So yeah, their system does lend to that being influenced by particular corporations who are willing to fund you. So yeah, there is a bit of that. Although I'm still not, like I said, I'm not condoning the medical industry as being squeaky clean, because clearly they're not. They're in it to make profit, but they shouldn't be bashed as often as they are. I think that's unnecessary. A lot of it is, what's the term? The Dunning-Kruger effect, where a lot of people don't know, and we just simply don't know all the technical elements needed for complex items such as virology. We just don't. There's a specialist field, and you've got only a small number of people who are specialists in that area. And so they're the ones who know how it works, whereas the common person doesn't. And we simplify what we think we understand, how virology works. And so we dismiss it when we don't understand it. And that's not a good place to be. It's like if you had to go for an operation for a particular problem, wouldn't you want the medic or the consultant operating on you to have loads of experience and know his job and haven't done it for years? So he's very qualified. You would, wouldn't you? If he's operating on you, you'd want the best. You wouldn't want someone off the street who's done it, for a couple of days on social media. So how can they, no disrespect to them, how can they be qualified enough to answer questions or dictate things without the proper knowledge? It's like some people who criticize things that go on at NASA. What they're doing on social media, they're criticizing them and saying, they don't understand, they don't do this. Hold on, these people are rocket scientists. They studied it. It's not a simple feat to get into that position. So it is. You've got to
At the same time, they are telling us that they can't go back to the moon, but they went in 1969. So that raises kind of questions. Anyway, very quickly, and I'm going to get back to your point. AIPAC, American Israel Political Action Committee. No, God, that's not what it is. You just saw the damn things. I was like, do you know, my as you get older, all sorts of horrible things happen to you. Memory being one of them. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, APAC.
Right. Okay.
All right, so that's done. Now about the not being able to the Dunning-Kruger and not being able to argue. Okay, I'm in the middle of sending you a link.
Just for the benefit of our listeners who may not know what Dunning-Kruger effect is, that's where the literacy of people overestimate their intelligence level without really knowing the detail.
Let me help you with.
Yeah,
let me
go on.
help you with that.
You can define it.
Dunning-Kruger is the phenomenon noticed by Messrs. Dunning and Kruger that the less competent people are, the more they tend to be confident. So it's amazing that if you drew confidence against competence at the very low end of competence, you'd be very high. You'll get very high confidence. So high on Dunning-Kruger means you've probably got little competence, but you're very confident. Then as you become more and more expert, you start doubting yourself. You start thinking, oh, really? Because you can see the complexities. And it takes a long time before your confidence start rising again. But you never rise as high as the idiots who don't know anything. You're always more careful.
Where are we? A couple of numpties on the Dunning-Kruger scale.
Extremely high. And Tayo, the highest of them all. He's confident about everything. I mean, you go, oh, okay. I didn't know that at the time, but I do know it now. But people don't mind because I always own up to my mistakes. I've sent you a link now, and this is about the development comparison of drugs between China and the US. Okay. And China costs about a third of the costs.
The US prices are inflated. Of course.
Well, there you go. So again, so there could be a reason that if they had proper non-protectionist policies, they would have to compete against China, and then their own people would benefit from the lower prices.
Absolutely.
But they won't do that because they'd rather pay off a few millions to the congressmen and women and earn
the prices inflated and keep their
which basically is cheating their own people.
Well,
which is ridiculous.
This is the downside. This is the downside of the industry, the pharmaceutical industry, as it comes to be known in the US marketplace. They do have an abuse of power. I'm not saying they don't. I mean, yes, they invest a lot of money in developing drugs. Of course they do. And they want to get a return on that. But they want to get the return back as soon as possible. So they put prices up at extortionate amounts. You see, we're quite fortunate in the UK to a degree where all our medicines, especially through the NHS, are all bought by the NHS. So they can, because they get economies of scale, because they get it for the whole country, they can make justification as to whether things are worthwhile or not. And if they do, they can knock prices down by the fact that they then can buy a large quantity of it. In America, it doesn't work that way. You're buying it for individual doctors, surgeries, practices at any time it's needed. So drug prices can fluctuate depending on who the client is, but it's not got that much wiggle room. But it's high, whilst the drug companies can keep it high without competition. And that's
the other problem. The other problem, of course, is that we've noticed, again, I'm sorry, Americans, it's not that I'm getting on your case. It's just that you put out a lot of information, and it's easier to get information on America than it is to get, at least for me, on other countries, especially this one, the UK. It seems to be quite hard to come across information. So I'm not picking on you, but it's easier to pick on you. So I am picking on you, but because it's easier, not because I hate you. Anyway, anyway, the overprescription of drugs.
Yes.
Doctors are incentivized And this happens. I believe this has happened to me in the UK. The doctors seemed incentivized to prescribe me with statins, and I was like, statins. Well, they're implicated in various. I don't. The reason I hesitated is because we tried to put out this show on YouTube, and I'm wondering what the algorithm is going to say. Because anyway, so let me put it. I'm going to withdraw that statement. I'm going to put it like this. The doctor tried to prescribe pills to me, and I said, no, hang on. As far as I'm concerned, there's serious information out there. Those are implicated, long-term use is implicated in Alzheimer's. I'm not going to take those. Why are you even prescribing them? And then she asked me if I had any studies. Unfortunately for her, I had 4 serious studies from serious scientific institutions, worldwide kind of institutions. So she couldn't poo-poo them. And I emailed them to her. So, zip it. And it's like they get paid.
Why was she prescribing statins or offered to prescribe them to you?
Well, I don't want to say statins. I mean, I'd rather not, because we want to publish this.
But no.
What she was describing was, in my opinion, I can't prove it in the court of law, but nobody knows her name, so obviously it isn't what you call.
No, but it normally a lot of the time as well for statins, because they've even just a few years ago.
I'm saying they get a cut. They get a cut of what they prescribe.
No, they don't. It doesn't work that way over here for sure. But
well, you said for sure. How are you sure?
No, they don't. They don't get a cut.
No, just asked how are you sure.
My wife works in the medical industry, so they don't get cut.
Has she got a stash somewhere that you're not aware of?
It doesn't quite work that way.
Does she constantly threaten to leave, and you're wondering what's she gonna live on? Has she explained her sports car yet?
I mean, if you are getting a direct kickback from the sales of drugs, of course you're going to get a commission, and then obviously there's going to be an incentive to promote one particular drug over another. But when you don't, then surely you should be offering something that's the benefit of the client or the patient. And statins in particular, there was a government announcement actually a few years ago, just before COVID, where they were debating whether statins should be prescribed to every adult over 55 because of the benefits outweighed the risks, because they could see a tsunami of issues for people who were overweight, high blood pressure, heart-related conditions, cholesterol being high, for instance, and statins help in all of those. Now, statins are not perfect, clearly. They do have side effects, muscular issues sometimes, and other things like that. But when you weigh up the benefits to the negative elements, then you sort of make that decision. In the end, they chose not to do it. I don't know the details why. And so they chose not to go ahead with that. But they do encourage doctors to prescribe it for people over 55 to lower cholesterol and blood pressure, heart attack risk issues.
You might have noticed, I have sent you a link. Yes, British doctors can receive payments from pharmaceutical companies related to the drugs they prescribe. And in fact, the article goes on to say this is that doctors actually prescribe more of a drug if they receive money. So it's not that they stop acting purely on medical.
I would love to. I'm going to read this article. I'm trying to. I don't want to poo-poo it until I've read it.
Yeah,
but I'm not convinced that this is totally accurate. I think this may not be related to the UK.
Hold on. I was going to say, idiot. I did actually ask for UK.
This is question US. This is US.
Can you imagine? Twats. Because it's so annoying, because it's actually the actual question has got, do British doctors get money? And it's like, American doctors get dollars.
It's
American. And then I end up looking like I'm high on the Dunning-Kruger. Anyway, I can fix that by giving you this one. Thank goodness.
Okay.
Anyway, so moving on, because you're going to tell me soon that we're very close to the end.
We're not far from the end of the show. We've still
Preventative
got a little bit of
healthcare.
time.
Preventative healthcare is an afterthought. It's sort of been wedded to the provision of healthcare.
That's actually not true.
Okay.
Because every time you go to the doctor and they talk to you about how they can fix the problem or whatever, they always recommend lifestyle changes. But most people don't hear those. You should get out more. You should do more exercise. Maybe do a sport. Maybe go change your diet. Don't have enough salt. Don't drink too much alcohol. Blah, 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 blah. They do that all the time. But people choose not to listen to that. They want a quick fix. They want, give me a pill that will fix the symptoms. And unfortunately, that is a misconception, because doctors, I'm standing up for doctors here, more often than not do recommend lifestyle changes that can improve a person's well-being.
How about chasing people up afterwards?
Don't do it. Well, they don't. They don't have the time.
How about we integrate it? Because if you can stop people from falling ill in the first place,
absolutely,
it will actually alleviate pressure on the NHS.
Indeed.
Speaking of that, I have now sent you the link. You can see there it's all in pounds, shillings, and pence, and that is drug company payments to the general surgeries throughout the UK.
Yes, surgeries.
Yeah, but it's an abstract, it's a long thing, and as you read it, you'll find out that it stinks.
I will read this. I will share it on the blurb for this topic as well, of course. So, and just see what they say, because I'm still unsure whether this is actually as accurate as they're making it out to be. But okay, benefit of the doubt. Let's give them that airing. I will read that and see whether that is the case. And
I'm not quite done with you yet. And this one is from the Center for Healthcare Economics at the University of York. Found that dispensing GPs who have the right to supply medications that are prescribed in ways that are consistent with the profit motive. Here is the link. So I think we can put that one to bed. I think there's no question about it. Yeah,
no, that's actually not true, because they're not supposed to do that. So whether they're
what do you mean it's not true?
No, it's not right. For instance, the majority, if not all, the doctors, 99%. I'm going to pull it off the top of my head here. I don't know. I haven't got that stat in front of me. Majority of doctors will prescribe what's right for the patient, not based on profit. Of course, there are going to be some that are, but the system is not geared up to reward by pharmaceutical companies giving kickbacks to doctors. That's not how the system is geared in the UK. So one government department and this University of York Healthcare Economics department, two out of thought well-funded institutions that who kind of know what they're talking about, beg to disagree with you. So I'm going to leave it to our audience members who are interested to click to find the blurb, click on the blurb and see for themselves. So you're now also, even if this was true, 100% true, that all doctors prescribe drugs based on economics rather than patient welfare. Are we saying that every doctor has no integrity? Every doctor is somebody who is to be mistrusted because
put it like this. Let's say I've got a patient who's got a headache.
Yep.
I can prescribe generic paracetamol. I don't get anything. I can prescribe this particular company's paracetamol and I get 10p. But if I get enough 10p's, it makes something. So I prescribe the one from the company. I am still treating your headache, to the best of my medical ability. But my choice is based on profit, on gain. The choice of which of these drugs I'm going to prescribe. I'm not saying you don't have a headache. Here's this thing that's going to put money in my pocket. Yeah, you've got a headache, but I'm going to choose the one that puts money in my pocket. I'm not necessarily at that point thinking about the NHS and how we all have to muck in to save money.
Most of the money that we pay for our medication is not actually a lot anyway, as the patient only pays £10 per prescription. That
Mm.
doesn't actually cover the majority of prescripted items, which costs a lot more than that. And the doctor has a business to run in terms of a practice. And did you know that most patients who, instead of going to the doctor, choose to go to accident and emergency for an issue, it costs the surgery £75 every time they go there, and they charged back that amount from the NHS to the surgery itself. So the doctor doesn't really get a kickback from the medication they sell. They try and get the cheapest medication they possibly can. They don't get the most expensive, so they're not going to prescribe a branded one. They'd rather prescribe one which isn't branded, that is cheaper, because then it costs
Well,
them
these are
less
all your
overall.
suppositions because you haven't read the.
That is, but I will read the document.
I mean, first of all, you said it didn't even happen, and then I had to go out and actually find stuff that said it does happen.
Well, we
and now
haven't
you're saying it happens
confirmed that.
like
You
this.
sent me a document, but we
That's
haven't
two
read
documents.
the document that don't actually say that. So we'll have a read and
Sorry,
we'll see. And
sorry, what did you say that about? Doesn't say that?
What?
What?
That. They don't say that all doctors.
I actually
money.
extracted quotes where they did say it. Those quotations that I went with the links are from the documents. I didn't make that up.
Okay, we find that practices were an important target of company payments, receiving £2,700, equivalent to 6.5% of the value of payments to all healthcare organisations in England. Right. Okay, what's that mean? The Centre of Healthcare Economics at the University of York found that dispensing GPs who have the right to supply medications directly to patients that's interesting, who have the right to supply medications directly to patients may prescribe in ways that are consistent with a profit motive, leading to higher drug costs per patient and a higher volume of potentially inappropriate substances such as opioids. That's interesting because they have to fund it. So if there's no justification in it doesn't make economic sense unless the price is benefit for that they get paid after the surgery's made the money. So it's interesting. But okay, I'll have a read for the benefit of you putting it on there. I mean, we could talk at length here, but we're reaching the top of the hour here. I mean, we really have to consider, does medicine and our healthcare actually fix us? Because there are some drugs that do fix us. Think about antibiotics. They actually fix us. They're one of the few medications that actually don't rely on the symptoms. They actually rely on the cause, which is to get the bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is a lot of the antibiotics are being resistant because they were used too readily for people. Oh, please give me something. And rather than giving them a placebo, something which just sort of pretended to be a tablet and the patient thought they were getting better, they were prescribed antibiotics when they weren't necessary. And so antibiotics now are becoming less useful. And we could get into a tipping point where we have a really serious problem because antibiotics are used during surgery. And if you can't use them during surgery, you can't then have the surgery. So that could be a real problem. You could die because of a bacteria infection because the antibiotics are not working because the bugs are resistant to them. So antibiotics, yes, did fix us and did help us, but now a lot of bugs are getting more resistant to it, and now we could be hitting a problem. But that's...
No, by the way, surgery also fixes problems.
Well, surgery does, yes.
Yeah.
But medicine is the thing
can fix the actual problem.
Yes.
I certainly
operations and things like
helps
that.
My
absolutely.
back knowing.
Absolutely. Operations do. That's with a skilled medic working or removing a tumor, fixing a broken bone, fixing a limb, fixing a polyp or something. So yes, medical.
Are you playing football again, by the way?
No, I'm still in a boot. My Achilles is still torn. It's repairing, but it's not there yet. So no. But so that would be something that I would have had to consider. But anyway, we're reaching the top of the hour. Do you want to give a quick summary? Do you think medicine and our healthcare actually fix us?
I don't think there's any doubts about it. I think to a large extent it does what it can. I think that's what I said at the beginning of the show. And nothing has happened, nothing has been said or transpired in the meantime to make me change my mind. Modern medicine does what it can. It's not perfect, it does have its flaws, but I'm glad it's where it's at, not where it wasn't. By the way,
Leeches.
I wouldn't be here talking to you
Yeah.
if we hadn't made some progress, because when I was 8 years old, my appendix burst.
Oof.
And if they hadn't known how to fix it, I wouldn't be here.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah.
There are many people who probably can recount stories of incidents that could have been certainly life ending had we not
In a
had.
different 20, 30 years before,
Indeed,
if it
indeed.
happened, yeah, wouldn't have been
Remember,
good.
just a few hundred years ago, people, their fix was leeches for everything.
Yeah, yeah, that wouldn't have worked.
No.
So
no,
just to say before we go, because I'm sure we're going to go
we have
finish
to go,
now.
Yeah.
I just want to say that for the last 28 weeks, you've been belly aching every time I expose you to the wise and wonderful words of Dr. Isaiah Henry Magatamba. And it is as if the harlot and the cockerel have played over many days and many nights. Go with God. Amen.
Oh dear, what a way to end. If you've loved this episode, please hit subscribe and stay tuned for more deep dives into prophecies, mysteries, and the unexpected twists of fate. You've listened to Tony and Tayo, and we are the TNT Talk Show. But unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.